Okay, today is a session where I can demonstrate what artifacts is. Artifacts in Mindflow are a database, basically, where you can store things. You can store and retrieve data. It's very handy in flows like this one, because then you can start storing intermediate results. You can store whatever you'd like. For example, in cybersecurity, you can store the result of scanning IP addresses, for example, to avoid, requesting too much from a provider or not basically repeating yourself. So here is a small demonstration on how it works. Here I have a flow, a very basic flow, which is responding to a bot, to what we call in Mindflow rooms. It's a conversation I'm going to have with an agent. This agent is very simple. It will receive an IP address over a chat like this one. This is a trigger which is named chat hook. A chat hook is something that can be called from an external room, like or AI rooms feature, or from Slack or from Microsoft Teams. Once you receive the request, then you can process it. And here there is a single step, which is an AI task. And this AI task is going to leverage on artifacts. So basically, I'm going to receive an IP address here. And this IP address, I'm going to inject it inside a small prompt. I can, of course, define this prompt here. This prompt is about scanning IP addresses. And let me show you a little bit what it does. It's very simple, very short. Here, the objective is to get some details on IP addresses. I can do that for sure in Mindflow since the start, but with artifacts now, I can start storing the results to avoid, again, repeating yourself on this one. So I'm going to ask, okay, scan this IP address, and I'm going to inject here the necessary message received from the chat hook. And if it's found, okay, I'm going to return the result. If it's not found, I'm going to scan the IP addresses. The difference is that here, I'm going to store the results. It's a kind of cache. This is well known in engineering. You just cache your request so that the next time you have the same IP address, you don't want to go into a provider and scan it again. So it's very simple. I can say, okay, I want to store those scans under a specific format. Here, I'm going to explain a little bit. This is where I'm going to store the things. I'm giving a key. Here it's IP scan / like a folder. And then for each IP address, it's going to store that as a key. And from this key, of course, I'm going to be able to retrieve the content. I'm also setting the expiration because we have a kind of data retention feature inside artifacts, which is very important. You can store things for a certain period of time. Here, I'm going to say 1 week because it's acceptable. I'm going to scan an IP address, and then if the result is stored in the database, then I'm going to retrieve from the database at least during 1 week. It means that, for example, if I have the IP address 1.1.1.1, then I'm going to keep it inside the database for 1 week. If after 1 week I scan this IP address again, then it's going to be scanned again from the provider. So this is the prompt, and of course I'm connect two things inside this AI task. I'm connecting artifacts to take benefit from the storage. And then I'm connecting one small threat intelligence tool, which is IPinfo. IPinfo is a dedicated provider to get some content. So for example, if I'm going into IPinfo here, you see that I have authorized one operation, which is get an information from an IP address. This is an external provider. This is not provided by Mindflow. This is an external service from Mindflow. So again, this can be called from a chat. And I'm going to go into the chat system in Mindflow here, which is called Rooms. In Rooms, I'm going to be able to call this flow, basically this agent. And of course, I can build many agents. So here, I'm going to call the artifacts demo and say, okay, I'm going to scan 1.1.1. Then it's going to run that flow, output the results inside this chat. It's going to take a little while for the first call, and then it's going to display the result from that. But the thing is that it's going to call. You see here, it's going to call first the artifacts, and it says, okay, I haven't found the IP address in the artifacts right now, so I'm going to retrieve the information inside IP info, and then, as you see, it's going to store the results inside the artifacts. So basically, it's searching. If not found, it's scanning, and then it stores the results, and then it displays, of course, the results in a user-friendly manner. What I can do now is, of course, I can do the scan again. If I want to scan 1.1.1, it's going to scan again this IP address, but the difference, as you guess, is that now it does not have to query the provider to get the content. So again, it's going, and you see that in Mindflow, it's fully transparent. You have all the actions, the operations needed. And you see that here, the difference is that the artifacts exist. So it does not need to retrieve it again from the provider. So it's a very basic example, for example, but you can imagine that at scale, it will not only reduce the number of calls to the provider, but also the availability, the performance, and all this kind of stuff that you can leverage on artifacts. So this is very basic. The nice thing is that if I want, I can, of course, continue. I can scan other IP address, like, I don't know, this one. And it's going to store that under keys inside the local database, the artifacts, basically. So again, it's going to do the same. And I'm going to be able to basically, and this is a beta feature, as you see here, but you will be able to basically query your database, a little bit like engineering is doing with SQL database, where you can query things and all of that. I'm also able here in the prompt to pick the model I want, and I'm able to just query the things like list artifacts. Then it's going to inspect the artifacts storage and list the different keys that are stored under that. So you see that it's calling the artifacts, retrieving up to the 100 first artifacts. And then you see that we have scanned 2 IP addresses, and we can see that directly from here. And I can even retrieve the content. For example, I want 1.1.1 content, and it's going to get the content inside the database. So it's very helpful because you can not only, of course, run agents, flows, and all of that, but you can also manipulate your data and get some content here. And again, if you want, you can, you see the content here is rich enough. Imagine you want to query things about that with another tool, you will be able to leverage, of course, in the chat to do that. I can even create things if I want, to store manually things inside the database. Everything that I've shown to you, we are also able to do it in flows. Here I have different flows. The artifacts demo is the one I just showed it to you. So when you open this kind of flow, of course, you can do other actions than AI-based actions. You can do that in pure no code. Like I'm opening the menu here to add some steps. I have the platform artifact service here. I can go into it, and then I have a bunch of operations that are available, like retrieve the content, retrieving the list of artifacts. Everything that I did inside the rooms in natural language, I can, of course, do it in no code when I want to have some deterministic stuff. For example, I can say I want to retrieve the artifact content here, and then here I have the ability to just parameterize the action. And it's very simple here. I need the key that have been created by the other thing. I'm running this into an environment. Okay, don't be afraid. It's not really production, but I can set different environment for that. Here I'm in the production environment. It means that the data that I store are just in this environment. There are a kind of role-based access control that allows you to separate the data into environments. For example, if someone wants to access this data and has no permission to do it, it will respect this permission. So again, you will configure that and put a key like IP scan here 1.1.1. Okay, remember the key format that I gave, IP scan. So I can run that, and then I'm going to get the content of this key. So you see here, I have the content, and it's exactly the same that have been displayed in rooms in natural language, but here it's no more in natural language. It's structured like someone who wants to program basically the flows. And if I want, of course, to take the city later in my flow, I will be able to pick that from the artifact. So it's not only, of course, a cache for AI-based workflows, but also for no-code workflows as well. And you see if, of course, I'm putting an IP address that I haven't scanned, it will say, okay, it's not found. I don't have the right artifact found inside this. So very simple feature, but very important, very, very important. You can give the ability to your agents by configuring artifacts here to say, okay, I will authorize this agent to create, delete, get some content from a database. It's completely transparent. You don't have, to set up the database or to get some provider, to get some credentials for that. You can store as many stuff as you want. We have a fair plan on that. You can store gigabytes of data. So it's very important because then in flows, you can build things like I've shown to you, some small payload for cache, but you can also store documents. You can store large documents. You can store results, reports, HTML, Markdown, whatever you'd like with this stuff. The sky is the limit, basically, to store stuff. So very important feature that unlocks a number of use cases. So this is all fine. Then you can store things, you can retrieve things, but of course you have some quotas on that. Even if it's very fair, you can handle gigabytes of data. In Mindflow, you can go to the organization here if you are an administrator, and then you can see your quotas here. And now there are two new things: artifact storage and artifacts bandwidth, and you will see how much you consume in your account. You will be able to track basically your consumption of artifacts. That's very good, of course, to have a control on that. We believe that 1 gigabyte is something valuable right now, but of course we can upgrade that as much as we want. It's basically something that will be introduced later and in the pricing plan. But yeah, that's basically some high-level stuff that you can take benefit. Thank you.